Well, I hope you got all that this morning, all those railbirds giving you tips and touts and all of that. It's inaugurated in 1875, the Kentucky Derby, 1.25 mile, that's 10 furlongs in horsey talk, and it is the fastest 2 minutes in sports. And the first leg of the Triple Crown, the Run for the Roses, this weekend on NBC television. And the Derby has always been a playground for dreamers, never so more than this year. The illness and injuries affecting the top contenders. And the favorites apparently disappointing in the last of the major prep races. So the 20-horse Run for the Roses looms as one of the most wide open in the 137-year history of the Classic. And we understand now that later today there will be an announcement that it will not be a 20-horse race. It'll be a 19-horse race because Uncle Mo, long considered the heavy favorite for months, is going to be out. Robert Shields, who is a forecaster of weather at CBS in Toledo, my brother, is a forecaster of another kind when it comes to horse racing. Good morning to you.
Hi there. You know what? A lot of my good buddies that follow horse racing would have bet you Uncle Mo was going to scratch from this race a week ago.
Oh, really?
Probably would have given you good odds.
Well, you see, you can bet on just about anything. Well, you're going to the Derby in Louisville this weekend. What's it like to go to the Kentucky Derby?
It is so crowded, as you know. The track is built to hold about 50,000 people max, and 150,000 people come. So you wait in line for everything, everything.
Wait a minute. Do you have to wait in line for a mint julep? Because if that's the case, I'm going to get two.
You do.
Well,
so you
good.
may as well do that.
We're going to jump the gun here this morning because we're going to have some mint juleps in studio. That's the traditional drink of the Kentucky Derby. Coming up in about a half an hour, John Klepper is here from Firekeepers Casino. He's a mixologist, and he's going to make them for us right here so we know how to do it, and we're going to taste it, of course, to make sure.
You'd better sip. Now, that reminds me of that great story when I had a Kentucky Derby party, and a fellow I work with, Dan Cummins, said, "I'd like to try one of those mint juleps, but can you make a virgin mint julep?"
There's no such thing as a virgin mint julep. I think it's all bourbon, isn't it?
You want a glass with ice and mint?
Now, the favorite now, I guess, that Uncle Mo is going to be scratched is Dialed In, the morning line favorite, 4-1 for the 137th Kentucky Derby, breaking from the 8th position. That's a pretty good spot to run from, the 8. Why?
Well, the posts 5 to 10 have produced 2/3 of the winners of the Kentucky Derby over the last 35 years, simply because it's the perfect spot, because you don't get squeezed into the rail, and you don't have to worry that you're way on the outside, so you can just sort of come out of the gate and jog along and pick your spot going into the first turn. So it's a perfect spot for him. But the thing is, he's going to drop back to way last anyway, and the pace this year is probably not going to be fast enough for him, so I don't like him to win. I like him to finish in 3rd or 4th.
From a weather standpoint, since you're a meteorologist, will they have a fast track at the Derby on Saturday?
I think so. There's going to be a chance of showers, but it comes in late in the day. It might be one of those things where an hour at a race time we're watching the sky, but it looks promising. They've had so much rain there, but the track has actually drained really well, so it's performing well so far this week, because they're racing all this week leading up to the Derby.
We spoke to Steve Haskins earlier from the Blood Horse. He's, I think it's fair to say, one of the most trusted voices in all of sports and all of horse racing. Anyway, he's a great analyst of the game and the pageantry of it all. He said that he kind of liked Arch, but when Arch drew the number 1 position, he lost favor with Haskins because that's not a good place to run from.
No, and he may have told you only one horse has won the 1 post in the last 35 years. And last year, Looking at Lucky was in that post. I don't know if you talked about that, but he came out of the gate in pretty decent shape, looked like he was going to be all right, and then some horse from the outside came swerving over into him, hit him, he hit the rail. By the time the horse was straightened up, he was in 16th place, and his race was over.
And that's it. So you started in number 1 and you end up in 16th. The horses he did say he liked, in case you're interested, he said that these 2 horses had been having great morning workouts, Midnight Interlude and Pants on Fire. And I said, well, don't Pants on Fire go together with a Midnight Interlude anyway? That'd be a good perfecta bet.
That would be. I don't think you'll see anyone touting that on NBC in quite that fashion. But
do you like those? And he also liked Nero.
Yes, he's picking all the what I call wise guy horses.
What does that mean?
Everyone's kind of on these horses, and they get bet down. I sort of like a sleeper horse who's 30 to 1 on the morning line.
Oh, okay. Now, this is where I pay attention because it seems to me like over the past at least, I don't know, 10 years or so, maybe more, very often you get a long odds horse that wins the Kentucky Derby.
No doubt, and especially this year because the field is so questionable. Like you said, a lot of them are lightly raced. Like Midnight Interlude did not race as a 2-year-old. And the last horse to win the Derby that did not race as a 2-year-old did so in the 1800s. That's how hard it is.
Wow, but he's got the magical Bob Baffert and Victor Espinosa, too, riding.
Yeah, they would rewrite history a little bit if that horse somehow happened to win because he's still lightly raced. And even Baffert said that he's still learning how to run, quote unquote. So that means he's a little bit green. And when the gate opens in a 19-horse field and 150,000 people are screaming, which is what you do when the gate opens in the Kentucky Derby, scream as loud as you can. It's amazing. But I like Animal Kingdom.
Animal Kingdom, I'm writing this down.
The
Okay.
16 post.
Why?
He has raced, he's somewhat lightly raced as well, but he's never run a bad race, and he has such a striking appearance to him. When you see him, he just looks, I don't know, it looks like he was hand-carved by somebody, and he's bred to run the distance, and in his last race, it looked like he wanted to go all the way around the track again when the race ended, and he won.
Yeah.
And he looked like he did it with ease, and
We'll continue with Robert Shields and his plans for the Kentucky Derby. My Old Kentucky Home is what you'll hear them play before the race.